Kingdom Aviation began with a dream between Adrian Gould and myself to minister out to the Aboriginal communities and to cattle stations for quite some time, and we've gone from cross-hiring various planes from all over Australia to actually now owning 2 aircraft of our own. As I pull up to the airport at 5 o'clock in the morning, the freshness of a new day just hits you. One of the wonderful things of the Kimberley is that every morning is absolutely glorious, and I'm an early morning person, so it's great to be out at the airport first thing in the morning while you're fresh in the mind, preparing the plane, making sure you've done everything right to either get out to that cattle station you're going to visit that day or to get into the first community. In the Kimberley, we have so many small communities with no viable witness whatsoever of the Lord Jesus Christ. And since the old missionaries have slowly withdrawn and left, the Christian witness over the last 25 years, there is a whole generation, possibly up to 2 generations now, that has never really heard the gospel. I also believe, having spent most of my life up here, that the most efficient way of being able to witness to these places is by utilising the speed and versatility of small aircraft. We're all actively involved in trying to bring Christ to those that are lost, but we realise we're not the only ones that can do that, and at Kingdom Aviation we're trying to take everyone out that we can, which means it's just not me, it's ministers from the other churches as well. And Christians, we're trying to show that Christians can work together with a real spirit of unity and oneness to reach those people that are lost. We have a 206 Cessna and we have a little Jabiru, and with these 2 planes we can consistently visit for ministry, to try and build support, building relationships. We can actually get out to these places. Without the speed and versatility of small aircraft, that's almost impossible. Today started out great. We started really early, picked up another new helper from Curtin by the name of Sue, and as we flew, it was great to see her interest in wanting to get to know the station people. When we arrived at Mount Hart this morning at about 7:30, it was so good to see Sue mixed very well with Kim as well as with Taffy.
G'day, Paul.
How you going, Taffy?
You finally found us.
Today's newspaper, mate, not 3 weeks old.
Oh, I don't want it. I want the old ones.
You want the old ones?
Yes, I don't want the
This is Sue.
Hi,
This
Sue.
is
How are
Taffy.
you?
Hi,
Welcome.
Taffy. Pleased to meet you.
Yes, a nice clear day for it, eh?
Beautiful, mate.
And you
absolutely.
could see the airstrip from a distance off, could you?
Mate, we could pick the airstrip out 20-something mile out. Even Sue could see it. 20 mile. Well, we're up high.
Yes,
And I haven't done
beautiful.
the last grade on it yet. You'd
No.
have to clean it up.
When we come down low, I could still see it, but it's hard, as you know, when you get down low,
Yeah.
it's hard to pick it up. But from up high, mate, I could pick it
Yeah.
20-odd mile out.
Anyway, you better come on over.
Have a cuppa.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Sounds
mate.
good.
The reason that we like to go out and visit the stations is so that we can hopefully be able to share with them not only the gospel, but the fact that we care for them. And as far as I'm concerned, that is part of the gospel. They have some fantastic needs, great needs out there, and don't know that there's really a lot of churches out there that's prepared to care for them.
We look forward to Paul's visits. Paul and Adrian, they provide us with a different perspective at times on what's going on about the place, and it's good to keep in touch with people. So, in the season we get a lot of people here, but in the off season, the wet, we don't get that. There's very few come through. It's always good to talk to people.
Like, I'm not a religious sort. I don't go to church or anything else like that. I believe your conscience is your religion. What you do right, you'll remember. What you do bad, you never forget. But no, Paul coming in, like he comes in a few times a year. He does a couple of things, like they do a Christmas run where they bring out stuff from the different shops and things like that. Just small tokens for a Christmas gift to everyone, you know. And then they do pass a passer where you make up a present, give it to him, and he drops it off at one other station, never know where, you know, just as a fun thing. Now, that's all good, but yeah, he comes in, he always brings a paper in. He doesn't try to force religion down my throat or And he tells a good yarn or two as well, I tell you, you know.
Bloody kitchen, you know. He's like a rude dog, he's only this round, wasn't he? But man, could he go, even in that cafe, he worked harder than anyone in the cafe.
But, you know,
it's been good for him losing weight. In addition to sharing the gospel of Christ to these remote cattle stations, we believe it's important to have a listening ear to the problems they have at the moment. One recent problem that we've picked up on is the fact that the station people aren't receiving their mail regularly over the wet.
Originally the problems were that we weren't receiving our freight during the wet season months when we couldn't get off the property, so we weren't getting any food supplies.
We only get a mail plane once a week. Now most folks can pick their mail up every day, or even rural areas get it 3 times a week, you know. We have to wait a week for mail.
Well, my understanding is of the RAS scheme that's subsidised. They subsidise the service to provide an aerial service for those people and communities who are isolated over the wet season. And their aims and objects are to provide a regular aerial service for essential goods and mail and personal transport. They are not providing that service.
The best thing about today, I think, is that the station folk we talked to knew that they were getting a listening ear from us, where we are concerned as well that their mail service isn't the best at the moment. And we don't want to pick on any of the personal contractors, but I think they were actually quite relieved to know that people do care and that we can hopefully help them and do something with that. Interestingly enough, we have 2 complete separate forms of ministry we're now doing. And next month we will have a new missionary starting with us, covering the schools in the Indigenous communities, and I will be mainly aiming at the cattle stations because they are 2 totally different styles of ministry that we have. I guess the common denominator is that we are out to build relationships with the Aboriginal communities, and we're out to build relationships with the cattle stations, so that is the one thing that would remain the same.
I belong. It's a place I love so well.
And so we can go out there, we can share in baptisms, dedications, funerals, and unfortunately the funerals seem to cap the cake at the moment with 3 coming up. But for all those people out there that's looking at supporting Kingdom Aviation, we are really trying to get out to all the stations throughout the Kimberley, covering about 130 to 140,000 square kilometres. And in that, in visiting all the stations, helping the people to realise that there are people in the churches back here that actually care for them out there. And so in a sense, we're taking the church to the station people. And it's amazing how many times, not when there's a group of us, that when we're by ourselves with the station folk, that they actually come and share with us where they're actually at with God themselves, and if they have any problems, we can help them with those problems, and hopefully lead them a little closer to the Lord Jesus Christ.